This is the Go Radio Business Show with Hunter and Haughey, brought to you by Barclays Hampden Hospitality and Events.
Tom, good morning.
Good morning, Willie. How are you doing?
I'm good. I think we should start off this week by explaining something that I should have done last week, right? And I apologise for that, especially to all the listeners. Last week, we had a wee bit of comedy where we had a wee segment about trying to write to the assessor, the rates valuer, to come on the show, and we'd done a wee gimmicky thing, and I should have explained to everybody, in order for them to get the real effect of that, they should actually watch the show on our YouTube channel, right? So you would have missed some of the hilarity of that. So I would say to everybody, if you've got 5 minutes, go on to YouTube and watch last week's show when we talked about the assessor, and just all you need to watch is the first 2 minutes and the last 2 minutes, and you'll get. And the good news is, if you do that, you'll see that a wee bit of hilarity actually hit home, and lo and behold, the assessor got in touch with us.
So you got a reply, Willie?
Yes, he did so, and thank you for that to the assessor, to Alan Baden from Glasgow Council, who's a valuer, and he's also put us in the right direction about who we should talk to. So hopefully, in the next few weeks, we might get an explanation as to how the matrix worked for the rates.
Right, so, well, first of all, yes, please go to YouTube and let us know if you think Willie and I are YouTubes. Probably you will.
I don't think you need to go to YouTube to work that one out.
And I just want to take a couple of seconds here and just to say to anybody from the rates assessor, from the government, from anybody about why we're so passionate about this. So the way this works is that Westminster has been more generous on the rates, trying to help businesses than the Scottish Government. The Scottish Government get that money through what's called the Barnett Consequentials. It's a very difficult formula, but that comes to Scotland, and the Scottish Government sit down and decide how they're going to spend it. Now, I believe they're deciding to spend it on other things rather than helping the hospitality, the pubs, the retail industry on rates relief. But what I would say to the people in power is you can take that money and you can help on child poverty, which would be great, or you can help on something else. But then it's a one-off payment. If you use it to help the people who create jobs, who invest in the country, then that tax keeps coming to you every single year, and you can use it to help child poverty or whatever you decide as a government to do. That's a change in philosophy for the current Scottish Government, but it goes to the fundamental point that we're making. If you've got more people paying tax, if you've got more people paying NI, if you've got more people paying a reasonable rates bill, you can do the things you want to make Scotland this brilliant country. But if you just take the money from Westminster, you spend it once. End of my moan for this morning, Willie.
But I think it's a really good point, Tom, and it takes us right in to for me for this topic. We've been talking for weeks and weeks and weeks that, you know, you're a couple of budgets away with nowhere else to go in tax, right? People are taxed to death, right? So now it's all about, when is the penny going to drop? It's all about driving enterprise.
Yeah.
It's about creating meaningful jobs, paying people well, lifting the minimum wage, doing all those other things that you do, but you need to do that at a time when you're growing. And unfortunately, when we see the growth figures for this last quarter at 0.1, if you're marking the scorecard, that's not good enough, right? That is not good enough. So we need to come up with something to get that engine going. You know, like where are we? You know, we put more money into enterprise, and we're going to talk about SNIB and Scottish enterprise just now. But and we will get failures, right? We will get fears. We'll invest in things that don't work, and I know we're going to touch on that. But what we need to do is we need to try harder. We talked last week about people building smaller units for small businesses. We need to help the SMEs. And then what you're trying hard is we need to get the SMEs and we try to scale them up.
Scale up, yeah.
But that's what we need to do.
In that way, Willie, because if you just sit and tax people more, and I've had a lot of phone calls in the past week. I know you get a lot as well. Just people at their wits' end. They're saying, look, we're not making that much money, Tom, but we're investing in our wee hospitality business. We're employing 7 people here, but our rates revaluation's just gone up. It's the final straw. I'm having to pay 2 people off. So that means there is less tax, less NI to help with child poverty or education or the health service. That's just that. We believe in something different to this SNP government. We understand where the tax comes from. They just want to keep putting the rate up. We believe in growing the take.
Here's their message to all politicians. Our friend across the water, DJT, has said that his favourite word in the dictionary is tariff. Right? My favourite word in the dictionary is growth.
Growth.
Right? So let's stop talking about tax and let's talk about growth and get all our cleverest people working about how we can grow the economy. And you're saying this is not a moaning half hour. We're actually getting solutions.
Yeah.
If Labour wants to turn things round tomorrow about how we're doing, get 10 clever guys together and go over to Europe and get a deal done to get us back into Europe in a trading bloc. Right? I'll put about 4% on the GDP. You couldn't imagine, you couldn't come up with another idea about how you could do that. So things can be done to help the problem that we've got.
Because, Willie, there's just, we record this show. It goes out on the Sunday, and you can catch it on YouTube as well. And please watch the YouTube. There's usually some interesting things that you and I are up to. But there's been the UK economy numbers are out for last year. The last quarter, we grew the GDP by 0.1%. Oh my goodness! And therefore for the year, this is UK numbers, we grew by 1.3%. So the UK economy is stagnating, Willie. That's what's happening. There isn't, 0.1% is not growth. My goodness, is that.
Tom, here's what it doesn't do. That doesn't pay the bills.
That doesn't pay the bills. What they're talking about now is there's a 60% chance, they're saying, of an interest rate cut in March because they need to stimulate growth. So people talk about it, but please, why doesn't Scotland really understand? Why doesn't the people in power? John Swinney's not a bad man. He gets this. He was the finance secretary. Let's grow the tax take and then spend it on child poverty, the health service, the teachers. Let's do it.
But see, the point you just made there, and I'm not talking this about in regards to John Swinney, we keep talking about people. You've heard it all this week about, Keir Starmer, he's a lovely guy, he's this and that. Let's talk about people's capabilities. Yeah.
So can I ask you, because I was at Rome at the weekend for the rugby. Oh my God. I don't know what was happening in Rome, but it was definitely biblical. Well, I did go to the Vatican and I was seeing if your pal was about, but he wasn't in that day.
Oh, it's your phone mate that got you in for a cup of tea.
But by the time I had landed coming back on Monday, my phone, I'd got all these missed calls. I'm saying, well, what's happened in the 2 hours I've been in the air? But of course, friend of yours, Annis, Scottish Labour leader, had been very brave and had come out and said that he is for Scotland, and he had said the only way he can win in Scotland, I don't know if this is right, is if Keir Starmer is not in Westminster, because he cares about Scotland, etc. So, I thought it was an interesting intervention. If I was going over the top, Willie, I'd have checked beforehand, was empty coming with me, but he seemed to be out on his own. But Can you give us your view on this? Because it matters who's in power in Scotland. It really does.
So let me give you my view on this. This is an honest view, right? I was down in London on Monday when this was all unfolding, right? And I never knew anything about it.
Right.
And Susan said, "Oh, there's something coming on the TV that Anas is making a decision. He's making an announcement."
Uh-huh.
And I thought, all right. And I actually thought, wow, I hope he's not going to resign. Right. And Susan said, no, it looks as if he's looking for somebody else to resign. Right. So when I seen it and I watched it, right, and I said to myself, right, okay. And as I'm actually watching it, I'm going to tell everybody this. This is what I honestly thought.
Sure.
Now, there's more to this. There's more to this, right? This isn't actually what's happening, right? And I'm explaining to my missus that, now, this is a Machiavellian plot. Something's going on here. And she's like, don't talk rubbish. This is what you say all the time. And you'll not believe it. What I said and what I implied is exactly what happened.
Right. So tell me.
Let me explain it. So, Anas, to be fair, showed true leadership, right? Didn't need anybody behind him, said exactly what he thought, right? And there might have been people behind saying, I'll do this, I'll do that, but he didn't care. Whether they were going to come or not, it didn't matter. He made quite clear this was a personal decision that he'd make and he was going to go with. He didn't mention MDLs. I've got so-and-so saying the same, so-and-so saying the same, whatever. And he'd done that, right? And it looked like he was on an island, right? And he was getting with her, right?
Yeah.
But look what happened. So Anas has declared that. So what he's done is, he's put it out there, right, that we're not a branch office of London. Right. We've got our own opinion. We're going to do what we're doing here. And without cutting the umbilical cord, he kind of declared UDI for Scotland, and this is what we need, right? We need something a bit different, right? And I'm sure that he felt a bit disappointed that 10 or 20 other people didn't fire in after him, but he decided whether they do or not, this is what I think is right for the country. Right? This is not a political speech. That's what he'd done. So he put himself right on a limb to do what he thought was right for the country, right? And by the way, my hat off to him for having the cojones to do that, right? Okay. But what was the consequence? If he didn't do that, Keir Starmer, I'm sure that the conversation between him and Keir Starmer on the Sunday morning when Anas told him what he was going to do was heated, right? And I'm sure that Keir would have been really disappointed, right? But what happened? It smoked everybody out, right? So within hours, every cabinet minister that may have been plotting, not been plotting, had to come out and back the Prime Minister. Right. He goes into a meeting at night and gets a standing ovation in the way in and a standing ovation in the way out. Right?
Really? Wow.
Yes. On Sky News at 10 o'clock, right? I can't remember who it was, the last guy to say, said, and Beth Rigby said this also the next day, that last night Keir Starmer found himself in the strongest position he's been in months. So I'm saying that this, and Anas is, I'm sure that, so now Anas has went a long way to saying, we're Scotland, here's what we're doing, bang, 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 right, you know. I mean, I've been open about this. I've said for years and years and years that maybe we should look at an independent Labour Party in Scotland.
Wow, okay.
And I think Anas went a long way to saying, we're going to operate as that anyway, so nobody can ever say to him again, you're a branch office for London. Right, when you ask for the governor to go, right, nobody can ever label you with that. So I would think that if you look at this, today, Anas is in a much stronger position than he was last week, and so is Keir Starmer. So what has happened, the consequence of this is, it's going to go down as the best Machiavellian plot that Labour ever hatched.
Well, I hadn't thought about that, Willie.
Yeah.
But
that's where we are today. That's a fact. That's a fact. That's where we are today.
You know, I think it is, I'm not into the politics of it, but we really need people in power who understand how we get the money to build the civil society in Scotland we want. And I don't mind who it is, as long as they get it. So
here's what I hope comes out of this. I'm sure that Anas's frustration, and I don't know this, is that maybe London weren't listening And I hope the outcome for this is now that Scotland, people in London now will listen to what Annis and what Labour in Scotland is feeding back to London.
Right. Okay, so listen, we'll leave the politics show to Bernard Ponsonby, but it's important to the business sector who's in power. We've got an election. We've only got 3 months until the election in Scotland. We've got 3 years to the election in Westminster, so Scotland is going to get the focus, Willie.
Yeah, when you say that, you're right, and people who get it. I mean, Annis has been brought up all his life in a family of entrepreneurs. Right?
Yes, he
understands, his family's got one of the most successful businesses in Scotland. Right, and it's global now, so, it's great having... we've said in the past, we've given credit, we think Ivan McKee has got a bit of a background in business. Some people have said Daniel Johnson's got... So what we need is, we need somebody that understands business, and I don't think there's many people who understand business more than Annis.
Right, okay, well, democracy will unfold on May the 7th, but the Machiavellian, the Prince Machiavellian, which I've read the book, which is fantastic, and you've just explained to me politics.
You heard it here first.
Heard it here first, Willie. As always, the Go Radio Business Show exclusive. Right. Where are we going next today, Willie?
Right, so you mentioned earlier about SNIB. You wanted to talk about enterprise and SNIB.
Yeah, so, there has been a couple of high-profile failures that the Scottish National Investment Bank have backed. Now, I know these businesses. One was Orbex, which was based up in Forres and then was in the space industry. They were trying to raise money. It's a hard business to raise money for, but they were in talks with a company based in Munich, but it fell through, and Phil Chambers, who's the CEO there, the founder, is devastated. There was good jobs, about £28 million from SNIB, probably been lost, Willie. And the other one, Trojan Energy, the founder there came through the scale-up programme. It's been bought out of admin, so the 63 jobs been saved there, Willie, which is good for the jobs. But again, there's about 28 million Scottish National Investment Bank money which has been lost. And remember, the Scottish National Investment Bank money is our money, it's taxpayers' money. So all I really want to say about it is that when you have a national investment bank and it's dealing with taxpayers' money, it gets more scrutiny than most. But in the investment business, you do have failures. I mean, we at West Coast Capital, we have failures. Now, hopefully we have more successes than failures over the year. But, you know, we learn from our failures. But that's quite a lot of money to lose. I really hope David and the team there, Willie Watt, they're good people. They understand what they're doing. This will be a blow to them. But there's some successes in there, and we should celebrate the successes and learn from the failures. Of course, it's hard when you lose taxpayers' money, and it becomes a political football because the opposition parties will say, that's it, rubbish. I think we've got to look at it in a bit longer lens than the political football. Any thoughts on that, Willie?
Yeah. We should have 2 pages of all the good news about Prestwick. Right, if Scottish Enterprise that don't step in there, is that going to be mothballed? Is that going to be lying there? You know, is there no dead albatross? What's happening now is it's booming. And I can tell you, without telling you too much, I was in a conversation down at Westminster this week in the House of Lords where there's all sorts of stuff going on with the potential for Prestwick. All sorts.
Well, I landed at Prestwick on Monday afternoon, and I was speaking to the folk there, and they were telling me they've got about 130 job vacancies, Willie, in engineering and security and warehousing. And I was looking at the Chinese cargo carriers. There's about 20 flights a week now, bringing stuff from Shein and Temu and the Chinese e-commerce businesses. So they bring it into Prestwick and they leave Prestwick with whiskey, seafood, etc. So it's up to about 20 flights. The other thing that's happening at Prestwick, of course, is it's a military airport. The Canadian Air Force have taken a 35-year lease there. There's about 80 people based at Prestwick, 24 hours a day. So I I always say that the government shouldn't be involved in running businesses, but I take my hat off to the Scottish Government here, because if you hadn't saved Prestwick, the great jobs that are all round there, Spirit Aviation, you've got jet engines being refurbished, you've got Ryanair doing their maintenance, those engineering jobs would have been lost. So I think Prestwick is a good success story and a rare example of the government stepping in.
Yeah, and I think that we should highlight more of the things that we get right than the things that we get wrong. That's always going to happen. That's what happens with investments. And I think that on that, we kind of go, bad cop, good cop. And I think to go back to, we've touched on it weeks before, see if we don't do something to help the retailer. You used to be one, right? But see if we don't do something about shoplifting, there's going to be so many small businesses go out of business, right? And I think I've said this in the past. New figures for Police Scotland say that shoplifting is up 129%, right?
Wow.
Across retailers. But what this means, Thomas, and I'm going to make a wee prophecy here. I bet you within 10 years, right, that all the wee shops, the wee corner shops now were theft, and we call it shrinkage, right, is taking away their margin, which was slight anyway to start with. I'll guarantee you within 10 years, we'll be going back into shops with those 3 women behind counters serving your stuff off the shelves that you can't go in and help yourself.
Oh dear, well, it takes me back to my dad's shop in Newcombe. He used to stand behind the counter and folk would come, this is before self-service, and they would say, right, Campbell, can we have 80 Tetley tea bags? And he'd go and get them.
I think that this is something really, again, and it seems to be, Scotland, we've kind of not got the whole justice thing right. Right, what we're doing is, if we've a problem where we've not got enough places to put people in jails, then we change all the rules so that it fixes that problem. Right, this is the wrong way around.
We're doing it the wrong way around, Willie. And when I was a retailer, we had about 1 to 1.25% of shrinkage. I speak to retailers these days and it's 3 times that, Willie.
I think it'll be 10 times that, Tom, to be honest. I think it'll be 10 times that. So, again, the government, can we have a look at that? Because now what's happening is, I think if you're a teenager, if you're under 16 and you're in shoplifting, you don't even get arrested.
Yeah.
Right, people are rolling about shop floors trying to get young people who are in stealing jackets and all this kind of stuff. So I would just say to the government that what we've got with this one is we've got it all the wrong way around. Right, we're taking the problem that the government have got with not enough places to put people. I mean, look what we're talking about now about going to cop prison sentences again. Right, people getting 3 years are lucky going to do a year. Right, what is going on? What's going on? What you're doing is you're taking your problem and you're making it for a problem for everybody in the high street. Right, it's a charter to steal. Right, we mentioned it before. Your house gets broke into now. You pay all this money for insurance, your house gets broke into, the police don't even come.
Oh dear. Right, listen, I'm going to go off the moan because Sean the Sheep from Entrepreneurial Scotland puts together some briefing notes for us, but I've got to take exception with him this week. So the good news story is that Katie Milligan is taking on the CEO role of Openreach. Now, Sean has told me she's from Glasgow. I'm telling you she's from Ardrossan. So she's an Ayrshire businesswoman, not a Glasgow businesswoman, Willie. So get it right, Sean. But well done, Katie. She's a Scottish businesswoman, going to take up one of the biggest roles in the UK. And I'm claiming her for Ayrshire this morning, Willie.
That's good. That was a good. I'm back to the right. Bad news, unfortunately, sad news this week that Andrew Marshall, who was the founder of the Cala Group, previous guest in the show, passed away suddenly last week at the young age of 54.
Yeah.
And Andrew was best known for his philanthropy. He was an avid supporter of the homelessness projects, using the profits from businesses like Edinburgh Street Food and Cala Castle to help those less fortunate than him. He was a well-known figure in Scottish business circles, investing and supporting a number of Scottish businesses and leaders. So, to his family, we're sorry to hear this bad news. Such a young age. We did have him in the show, and it'll be a real, real loss.
Yeah, so somebody told me about this through the week, Willie, and Andrew, of course, comes from the Marshall's Chunky Chicken family. who we know, and as you said, Andrew was on the show. I was blown away with his philanthropy, Edinburgh street food, etc. So 54 years old, Willie. Very sad. Our thoughts are with his family.
Right, so we can't go without mentioning the big story of the week, right? We're going to wrap it up my business. You know, Jim Ratcliffe is obviously one of Britain's biggest business guys, but obviously get the cat among the pigeons yesterday by talking about parts of Britain as being colonised, right? And he's like, I've only got one thing to say about this. He must already have been told that he's not going to get any government handout to rebuild Old Trafford. Right? Because he's getting no chance now.
So, well, I don't know. I mean, sometimes business people have got to stay out of politics, I would say. But I don't think he was well informed. He got his numbers wrong on it. And, you know, it's very easy to say, look, Jim, you moved to Monaco to avoid your taxes. Do you have an opinion in the UK sitting, looking out onto the Côte d'Azur? Yeah, I think it's ill-advised, Willie. I think he's a great businessman, but I don't agree with his comments in this one.
Good luck to him and try to get his funding for Old Trafford now. Something we're both involved in, housing. We talk about it most weeks, but it was interesting this week to read about Barnett and Redrow saying that in Scotland, the housing for them is moving a wee bit faster than down south, right? But that is followed by telling you the share slump, right? I don't know how much that slump is, but they're saying that still that the market is very precarious. So if we've got our biggest builder telling us that the market is precarious, this is what I don't get. How can you have a crisis in building and one of your biggest builders, probably your biggest builder, they have a share slump? It just doesn't add up. It doesn't add up. So for me, the people like this have to be listening to as to what the problem is and how do we fix it. Right? I know you know Steve Morgan. I've read David Thomas, the CEO, has been mentioned this week. I've actually written to David this week.
Right, okay.
About this. So I think that somebody has to get the 5 big builders in the room, because I'll tell you right now, not only will Labour's target of 1.5 million houses not be built in the 3 years, I don't even think we'll get to the target set by the Tories.
Right, so let me give you an exclusive for the Go Radio Business Show, Willie. And I haven't even told you this, so you're hearing it first. I've been speaking to Ivan McKee, the Scottish Government, and he is one of the few ministers in the Scottish Government who's got some business experience. And he's agreed to come and listen to the big builders. I'm going to invite you. I'm going to invite a small group, and we're going to get round the table and have a no holds barred. So Ivan said, yeah, he wants to learn what's stopping, and he's going to try and unblock this in Scotland. So hopefully you can come, Willie. We're going to get the Barnett Redrow MD in Scotland. We're going to get the big people who should be building more houses. Why are we not building more houses? And we're going to try and unblock this, Willie. So, well done for Scottish Government, Ivan McKee, for agreeing to do it. And the invites are going out tomorrow. So check your inbox, Willie.
Good. Well, I hope that Ivan invites along the Cabinet Secretary for Housing. That would be good. You know, it saves you having 2 meetings.
I will ask him to do so. And let's see if we can unblock this housing emergency in Scotland. Was announced in May 2024, almost 2 years ago. It's getting worse.
I got a phone call during the week, I won't say who from a young guy who went to work to fix the central heating in a woman's house, right? And somewhere near my heart, up in Tory Glen. And he wrote to me, this is not a woman, right? And it's a private landlord who owns the house. And he felt so bad when he seen the state of the woman's house, right, that he wrote to me saying, Willie, can you go and visit this woman and see if there's anything you can do with her? She lives in this house with her small son, and there's mould in all the rooms, right? So somebody's going to end up ill. So this is a private landlord, right? And he's saying to me, the woman is happy to pay £800 or £900 a month,
right,
for a house, and she's living in this. So I will go and see the woman this week and see if there's anything that we can do to help her. But what we're saying to the government, this is a situation that we have out there at the moment. So if we've got, it's great to hear this news. This is brilliant. And we should finish on this good news, right?
Yes.
And hopefully from that, and again, this is what the show's about, to try and help business, to try and encourage politicians to get involved in business. It's not a moaning shop. Hopefully we're trying to come up with solutions. And I've got no doubt that if that meeting takes place, politicians turn up and listen, they will get a couple of gems from that hopefully may go a long way to help them with the housing problem.
As you know, Willie, my brief to the house builders who are coming is, look, you can't come and moan, you've got to come with solutions. And hopefully the government's listening, hopefully you can come, Willie, and we can unblock this housing crisis.
I will definitely come.
Great.
So to all our listeners and hopefully to all our viewers that have been on YouTube, seen the channel, watched last week's show, you will get the wee bits of funnies relating to the valuer, and we'll certainly, our story on rates, revaluations is going to run and run for weeks, by the way, until we get them to change.
Well, let's follow Northern Ireland and stop it and let Scotland flourish.
Cheers, Tim.
See you next week, Willie.